Hello, my name is Reggie Chapman. I use he, him pronouns. I am the Director of Policy at the Fortune Society's David Rothenberg Center for Public Policy. Welcome to Both Sides of the Bars, which is a discussion driven show that examines the criminal legal system from various perspectives, including people most impacted by the system. Here we discuss critical questions about how the criminal legal system works, its intersections with social justice, and the efforts that advocates are making to improve the lives of everyone involved. We ask that you, the viewers, spread the word about both sides of the bars and share your comments with us on Twitter, also known as X, at the Fortune SOC. Today's show is titled Restorative Justice. What would it look like going forward? Here we will explore restorative justice as an approach to addressing harm through accountability, healing, and repair. Rather than focusing on punishment alone, restorative justice practice center on the needs of those harmed while creating meaningful opportunities for accountability and change. This conversation looks at how restorative justice can move from the margins to the center from criminal legal system reform. We will also look at what it will look like to build a system grounded in dignity, responsibility, and community. This episode features Patrick Stevens. Patrick is a leadership fellow at the Center for Community Alternatives, also known as CCA. He is also a formerly incarcerated person and a restorative justice practitioner. Good afternoon, Patrick. We're excited to have you on both sides of the bars.
Good afternoon, Reggie. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I guess with no further ado, how about we just jump into the questions, Patrick? My first question for you is that can you share a moment from your own journey when you first saw restorative justice practices in action and realized it was different from traditional punishment?
Wow. It's a great question. I think so. The early years, I got introduced to restorative justice work by um, a good friend and mentor while I was at Shawanga Correctional Facility, Shuaib Abdul Rahim, who now works for Common Justice doing amazing work in the restorative justice space. And he sort of introduced a framework of restorative justice to us. Um, And I think the first time that we really were able to practice it while we were incarcerated um, was during my time as a president of the CAU, which is an organization inside of the prison. And a lot of our work was trying to mend conflicts within the community. And so, what does that look like? It's bringing people together. It's trying to understand what their issues are, and this sort of begins in the space of what we might call conflict resolution. But restorative justice is a lot more intimate and a lot more detailed and more profound in its impact than simply just mediating a conflict. It's addressing the harms that are done to people when um, other remedies do not really satisfy that requirement.
Thank you for that insightful response, Patrick. You said a few things in there, but one thing I want to highlight that spoke to me is the idea of community. You mentioned that even within a carceral space, you're part of an organization that had a community, and that like when you engage restorative justice practices, they're about amending the community. And so it made me think about how, like, when harm happens to one person, it actually affects the entire community. And so I think that's just something that we should keep in mind when we're thinking about restorative justice. And I appreciate that perspective.
It's a very key point because it highlights the differences between restorative justice practices and the traditional criminal legal system, where in the traditional system, we are thinking about who to blame, um, who is responsible for a particular thing, how do we punish that individual? And that oftentimes does two things that are problematic as far as restorative justice is concerned. One, it separates the person who was harmed from the person who committed that harm. So the person who was harmed does not have access to that person, right? As far as the court is concerned, we've taken care of it. That person is in prison. Like, go to victim services if you want additional support. But the trouble is that oftentimes people who are harmed really need to hear from the people who actually harmed them directly. And so the criminal legal system sort of creates that separation where that can happen, right? So that really disrupts community in a lot of ways. The other part of it is that harm doesn't simply it doesn't just simply exist with the person who was harmed. There are other people surrounding them, their family, their community, their friends who are affected by that harm, who have witnessed it, who have to deal with the aftermath of that harm if someone in their circumference is struggling. And so again, the criminal legal system doesn't have a real pathway for that allows that sort of community to happen.
Thank you for that response, Patrick. And I really, really appreciate you unpacking that because for many people, this is a new term and there's so many misconceptions about restorative justice, how it works, why it should work, and the actual, the harm to community. So I appreciate that. I'd like to go to my next question for you, Patrick. Um, a lot of systems treat restorative justice as a side program. What do you think it would look like it would take structurally for restorative justice responses to be standardized in our criminal legal system?
Yeah, another great question. I think so. As it stands, there needs to be a lot of narrative work around what restorative justice is, vis-a-vis the criminal legal system. Again, people often think of restorative justice as simply you just coming together with someone, and that's sort of the end of it. Um, and for most people, they don't understand how difficult that actually is when you've committed serious harm for you to have to confront the person that you've harmed and be responsible to them and be accountable to them to say to them, look, I did this thing that was harmful. What can I do to make it right? And to actually live in that, right? So it's not simply just making amends for the moment, but it is thinking about what does change look for me as someone who has committed harm? How do I interrogate the things, the trauma, and all the rest that caused me to create this harm? So it's a lot more expansive. There's a lot more work to be done, and it's very difficult, particularly when you're talking about issues of serious violence. One of my earliest experiences with restorative justice was having conversations with the young man who I had harmed. I had done harm to his family and was able to engage him in a way that traditionally would not be acceptable. Right. So in the criminal legal system, if you are convicted of a crime, you cannot reach out to the people that you've harmed directly. Your only avenue is perhaps the letter bank, where you can write a letter to families and to victims and people that you've harmed, but there's no guarantee that they'll get that letter. And oftentimes a letter isn't enough. You need to be face to face with people. You need to really um, get a sense for where they're at. And nothing is better than a face to face confrontation with someone that you have harmed.
Thank you for that, Patrick. I mean, you said so many things in that response. So I want to stop and think about something that you said about a person can go to prison and never for a violent offense and harm maybe not just one person, but the victim, their family, and the entire community. And like how a person go to prison and never have to deal with that, like the power of sitting down and facing the destruction that you've caused in someone's life. From my own personal experience, like yourself, like having have to have go through that process is so impactful, particularly on the person who's been the perpetrator of harm. And the reason why I think that's important, Patrick, is because, like you said, a person can go to prison for up to years for committing a violent act and come home and never have to face what they've done. Why is that problematic? It's problematic for several reasons, but I think one way in which it's problematic is because when the person is put in maybe a similar circumstance, maybe they will perpetrate that same crime again because they haven't really been faced with the outcomes and the destruction of what they've done. And so I think that when confronted with something like that, it really, really does something to the psyche and the soul of a person that's actually committed that type of harm. And so if they do happen to engage in restorative justice practices, this can potentially change them as a person and like prevent them from ever engaging in that type of act ever again in the future. And that in itself is kind of community and public safety. So when you said those things, Patrick, it really made me think about those things. But thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
No, absolutely. And you think about what it takes to get two people in a room who have hurt each other. And to your larger point, this idea that again, it doesn't just affect that individual, it's their family, it's their friends, it's a larger community. And we know that hurt people. We've seen the data, we've read all the science. Um, and what is really amazing about restorative justice is that at its heart, it is focusing on primarily the person who is harmed, right? And it can be very difficult to disentangle that sometimes, where it's a beat that's going back and forth. Who started it? Hatfield, McCormick. How did it begin? But ultimately, you want to seek healing for people primarily. That is the primary focus, and the hope is that will then translate to other behaviors and other opportunities where they can engage with people down the line that they may have harmed and have the same results. And the data is very like the data is outstanding when it comes to studies of restorative justice across the country, across the world, New Zealand, Australia, um, in the United States, in the places where the programs have been adopted. And when they work well, almost every randomized trial shows marked improvement for post traumatic stress syndrome for victims, for the people who committed the harm. The recidivism rate, particularly for a violent crime, is extremely low as compared to the criminal legal system. And so, like, we see all of the benefits in terms of community building. We see that people's mental health are improved by engaging in these processes because largely they're about telling the truth to each other. Like, we've hurt each other, we've been entangled in this thing, but let me tell the truth about what I did and why I did it, so you can understand what happened. And then what can I do to make this thing right to the best of my capacity? It doesn't get better than that.
I really appreciate the project. Speaking on that, and you kind of actually segue into my next question. Hopefully, what I ask you next will help you even dive deeper, unpack what you said because it's very, very powerful. And so, my question for you is that for survivors and people harmed, what are some of the common misconceptions about restorative justice, and how do you address concerns about safety, accountability, or just people feeling pressured to participate?
Yeah, I think so. Let's think about what a traditional pathway would look like. Someone commits a violent act against someone, and the police come, they take your report, you might have to show up at a grand jury. There's constant engagement with the criminal legal system long before that person even goes to trial or there's engagement, right? So there's a great deal of trauma in reliving something that happened to you without having direct access to the person that did it. Oftentimes, victims don't know why they were targeted, right? They may not know why. Or even if they do know why, there's some particulars or some facts that they don't understand, which is very important to people's healing. It's the place from where you begin, because when you don't have a complete narrative about what happened to you, you start to fill in the blanks with things that have never happened. And that has implications for your own health down the line. And so having someone tell you the truth about something that they did to you is very valuable. In the criminal legal system, though, you don't you don't necessarily get that, right? And in fact, there's every incentive, if you are facing trial, if you're facing a serious conviction, to not to tell the truth, right? In fact, you may stay silent about the factors that led up to the incident. Why? Because that can have implications for whether you get convicted or whether you serve a long sentence. And so for us, it makes a lot more sense to focus on the healing of the person rather than punishment, because that's really where community begins. And so for me, the thought is, how can we build upon those frameworks? And then the other thing is that this is not something that necessarily only has to happen pre-trial or right after an incident. This could be someone who's finished their sentence, who's done their 20 years, and understands, just like many of the men that we met at Green Haven. The other day we were at Green Haven for the Beyond the Bars event, and several of the men there that who participated at the event expressed their willingness to reach out to their victims, but they can't do that because they're incarcerated. So, what would that look like to allow them to engage with the people that they had harmed after their incarceration or after their sentences are completed, where there are no implications either way for them telling the truth, right, about what they did to people? And so for me, I can't speak enough about how important that can be to victims and to their families and to people who really need to understand what has happened to them, and to have some accountability from the people that harmed them.
Thank you, Patrick. So you just mentioned, you gave me a great segue. I appreciate you. You just mentioned about yourself and this pathway to feeling healing and responsibility, relationship to victims and crimes.
Mhm.
So you and I both come to this work as formerly incarcerated people. Um, how does that lived experience shape the way you facilitate restorative justice processes and take accountability? How does that work?
Yeah. So at first, it was very difficult to work through what does that look like. Particularly, I was convicted of second degree murder, for taking the life of a young man in my neighborhood, and it's very difficult to think about, like, what can I what there's I can't do anything to bring the person back. And so in that vein, it's like how do I engage at that level? And it doesn't say that it is impossible, but it's a very tricky and difficult thing to engage in when someone's life has been taken, when there's been serious acts of violence or harm, sexual abuse. It's very difficult. Like you really have to wait until people are ready, and you have to understand that the process is no good unless both parties are willing to engage and be truthful about what they're feeling, and that they have a good facilitator who can mitigate how power might operate in that space and to bring them together. And so for my personal experience, it was very difficult to think about like how would restorative justice apply in this case, and so fortunately, I did a lot of research while I was on the inside and was exposed to the Redemption Project. It was a CNN 8-part series all about restorative justice, and it really allowed me to see the frameworks that I was dealing with and see how they operate in real time. How does that work for when you have committed serious acts of harm? And yes, you have to wait until people are ready, but there is a clear pathway for how that is done, and it begins with truth telling, right? It begins with telling the truth about what you have done, understanding the impact of what you did, understanding how it impacted not only the person, but the people around them. It's also understanding what was it about me that led me into that path, that made violence a viable option. And so it is my own interrogation and saying, I've committed this harm. What came before it that made me think that this was palatable and that this was reasonable? How do I untangle those things? That is the first step. I have to do that. If I'm serious about this apology, I need to work back and say, I can't be that person. And then making sure that I've made that agreement to this other person that, look, I am not that person anymore. Here are the things that I'm doing to the best of my ability to be as right as I can with you.
Patrick, I really, really appreciate that response. That was so powerful. There's so many things in there that you said that are worth unpacking. You talked about truth telling with oneself, and that is like the catalyst for any process. Because my next question was going to be for you, is that as you work as a practitioner, you know, what does the process look like from the person harmed, for the person that caused harm, and the community? And you did a good job of touching on those things. You mentioned truth telling, that meaning dealing with yourself, and then thinking about what came before, right? What kind of catalyzed that thinking and that behavior. And that actually ties into the community itself because by large and part, a lot of people behaviors are informed. They're socialized in a certain way by things in the community that actually drove that. And so, why am I mentioning that? Well, I'm mentioning that just to say that like from your explanation of restorative justice, what it looks like, it seems to really have this holistic approach to it. And one may think it's about just the arbitrator of violence or the person who received the immediate harm, and then even the family. But you're saying that this encompasses entire communities because the communities not only plays a role in that, but has been affected by that. So I just want to say to you that I appreciate the explanation of that. Truly do.
And if I can, let me sort of like take you through an example of like how we process restorative justice here. Like I said, mostly it's primarily centered on the person who is harmed. So if we have two young people here at the center who have engaged in harm, um, I want to get a sense of like what actually happened, right? Basic statement of facts: what happened, who did what to who, and I'm going to go to both parties and assess whether to get a sense of like what actually happened. And so, in my estimation, the person who was what harms are happening, I want to talk to those individuals about that harm. What happened to you? How are you feeling about it? Are you open to having a dialogue with this person who committed this harm? Once that's done, I go to all of the other parties, have that conversation. You need to be open. You have to be willing to tell the truth to this other person. If you're going to lie, if you're going to be evading accountability, this is no good. Like that's a non-starter. But once we get to that point, we're going to set a date. We're going to interview them and see if there are other parties that they want to have support to come to this actual dialogue. Then it's the actual day of the dialogue where we just want to make sure that people are comfortable. And once that dialogue is completed, part of it is an agreement. So the person who's responsible for the harm may come up with a particular agreement and say, look, I will do these things to make it right. And it's up to the person who was harmed to say, you know what, I accept that, but I also want this other thing. And to the extent that it is reasonable and can be done, we'll set down and put together that agreement, and then there's follow up. Are you following up with the agreement from both parties? And then there's another set of follow up with respect to what um, resources both parties might need. Is it therapy? Is it some other thing? Is it job placement? Is it connecting you to some other resource that you might need um, in the holistic sense? That sort of like rounds out the whole process for us, where we do a specific dialogue.
Appreciate that, Patrick. Walking us through that because again, people are not familiar with this topic or they don't really know how it works. So I appreciate you giving us, example of how that happens in your day-to-day work, and we really appreciate that. Particularly for young people, I think that you know, restorative justice is about humanity as a whole. But when we think about oftentimes young people, I think it's important that we focus on that demographic a lot because young people are going to become adults, right? And they're going to become older in life. And so we really, really want this practice and this for me to be transgenerational. And so I appreciate that, Patrick. My next and potentially last question for you, because we're up against time, is that like if New York fully embraced restorative justice over the next decade, what would it look and feel? What will look and feel different in our courts, our prisons, and our jails, and in the communities most impacted by violence and criminalization?
In the next 10 years, what I would love to see um, is that no juvenile offenders, for the most part, are in juvenile detention centers, that we can use restorative practices and restorative centers as alternatives to the current system that we have now, particularly for those young people again. And it's not going to be everyone. Like we want to develop a sort of pathway to that being the reality in New York State and other states, where there's opportunities for communities to come together as opposed to simply dividing them, punishing people, and then hoping that they turn out better than what they were. Like we want to be very strategic about how we engage with people and how we develop the system where people feel safe. They recognize the implications of this process and how it can keep people safer over longer periods of time, particularly when it comes to serious violence for young people. The studies are very clear that young people who engage in this process, the recidivism rates are substantially lower than if you would have sent them to a juvenile detention center. Our juvenile detention centers, Horizons, Crossroads, these places are overcrowded and they're not built, they don't have the capacity to engage with these young people in the way that we need. And so for me, I would love to see a larger abolitionist framework with respect to incarcerating young people, because we're looking at the data and we're saying you're putting young people in these systems, and yes, they're being punished, but the punishment doesn't lead to better outcomes for them. The recidivism rates are way too high. That means that they are not getting the treatment and the support that they need while they're in the spaces, and the system, quite frankly, doesn't have the capacity to do that. And so I think restorative justice works well within the existing system, but also can work better as we augment it and supplement it with more maybe residential spaces that allow for restorative justice programming to be the heart of the work that we do.
I appreciate that, Patrick. I mean, you said so many things in that response, and some of the things I want to highlight for our listeners is that like restorative justice framework can exist in the current framework. It can exist now, and we can use it to augment it going forward. Also, that like focusing on young people does a lot to like not only address problems now, but as a preventative, somewhat of a public health measure, prevent and reduce the rate in which violence and harm occurs in our communities long term. So I just want to commend you for saying that, and I think it's very, very important for our viewers to understand that restorative justice is not a system that doesn't rely on accountability. It's not about forgiving people for things they've done and with no accountability. What is essentially is that is focusing on the parties harmed and not just the individual party, but not just their family members, but the communities and society at large. And I think that's very, very important for our viewers. We're getting close up against time, but before we end the show, Patrick, I'm gonna give the floor to you, and I want to know if you can leave us with any concluding remarks.
Um, One thing I will say, I definitely want to give a shout out to Project Restore, Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, the um, the district attorney's office in Kings County cited this program and other programs like it for the reason that we've had historic lows in violence in 2025 since we've been keeping records. And the heart of the program is focused on restorative justice and how you bring people together. It's trauma circles, it's the dialogue circles, all the stuff that reduces the levels of violence and the incidences of violence in our communities. And so for me, it just makes sense to follow up on that work, to double down on it, to expand its scope until we don't have to worry about serious acts of violence in our community. Maybe it sounds unreasonable, maybe it sounds like I'm pie in the sky, but I'm really committed to expanding the message and
It
doing that.
sounds reasonable, Patrick. It does. It's not pie in the sky. It sounds reasonable. I believe in it. I think many of us believe in that. And so I just want to say thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you to the viewers for joining us for another thought-provoking discussion. On behalf of the Fortune Society, we thank you so much for tuning in to both sides of the bars. If you're interested in finding out more about the Fortune Society, please check us out on the web at thefortunesociety.org. That is thefortunesociety.org, or typing for a fortune on the Facebook. This is Reggie Chapman. I appreciate you joining us as we critically look at both sides of the bars. Thank you.
Without the delay. Can I get a countdown?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're going to go live in about 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 2, 1, and you're live.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District School Board meeting of June 10th. The board did meet in closed session with no reportable action. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Superintendent Kramer, are there any adjustments to the presented agenda?
Yes, President Driller. One adjustment. We would like to pull item 17.5 in the first reads. We would like a little bit more time to work on that policy.
Pulled. All right. Any other adjustments? Seeing none, I will make a request for a motion for the agenda
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda
with the noted change.
as amended.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving to 7.0. How exciting is this? Truckee High has jumped up and is bringing us their new ASB officers, and I'm not sure who's here, but I have Ella, Wengard, Emma. Are you guys all here? Yeah. Oh, lovely. Emma, Maya, and Sadie. Come on up and tell us who you are.
Okay, we just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing, what we've done in Truckee, and then what we're planning on doing. So quick introductions. My name's Ella Weingard, and I'm going to be the ASB president next year.
My name is Sadie Doris, and I'll be the ASB vice president.
My name's Emma Birnbaum, and I'll be the ASB secretary. And then Mia Kim's treasurer, but she's not here.
Okay, so some of our recent events are prom. We had an end-of-year rally, and then graduation, and we have some sports updates as well. Okay, so prom this year, we did it at North Star. It was our first year doing it in North Star, and we got a lot of positive feedback from the students. Like, everyone was really involved, dancing. They stayed throughout, like, the whole event. And we had Rubicon Pizza give everybody dinner, so that was nice. There was also a shuttle system, which it was our first time using that. So it was taking students from North Star to the rec center, and we got positive feedback there as well. A lot of students used that.
Hey, can I ask a question on that?
Yeah, of course.
Did you get donations then from Rubicon Pizza and the shuttle system, or who was the shuttle system?
It was the North Star shuttles, yeah. And then...
And they gave it to you?
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. They kind of put it in with all the other expenses, but not as much as it was
That's,
in
okay.
to just pay.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, we also had our end-of-year rally, and that went really smoothly as well. We showed a end-of-year video that showcased the seniors, all of the sports highlights from the spring semester. We played fun games that kept up school spirit, and we also switched seats, so the seniors moved to the floor, the freshmen moved to sophomore, sophomore to junior, and junior to senior. And we also paid respect to the retiring teachers and teachers who were leaving by calling them down and giving them flowers.
And then we had graduation. It went really well. It was definitely a great turnout, and yeah.
Okay, so some of our sports updates. We had 2 state champions with girls swimming and girls lacrosse, and then 4 runner-ups, boys swimming, boys golf, boys track, and girls track. And then baseball qualified for regionals, and softball also qualified for regionals for the first time in 15 years, so that's exciting.
Okay, we're going to talk about some of our future plans. We have separate slideshows for each of these. So the first one's going to be homecoming.
So we're brainstorming like a theme for homecoming. We were going to do a Rio theme, so like jungle and like really colorful carnival stuff, and also the movie Rio, like with the birds and stuff. Some spirit days we were planning on doing were like a tourist day, and then what are some of the ones? Do you remember? Like a beach day and like fun stuff related to the movie. And then we'll also have a football game and powder puff that week.
And homecoming's also going to be a lot earlier this year. Oh, yeah, and then homecoming's also going to be a lot earlier. And then our first day of school rally we're bringing back this year. It's going to be Hawaiian themed. So hopefully it'll be easier to get the freshmen and sophomores involved. We're going to do a Find the Coconut thing, which there'll be like little like laminated coconuts under the seats and stuff to get a prize. And then we have some fun games, coconut bowling, beach ball relay, and a surfboard race, which has nothing to do with surfboards, but hopefully to get some good engagement with the incoming students.
We are also putting on Club Rush, which we did this year as well, but it was a little bit chaotic. There was a lot of clubs. So this year we're going to try and prioritize really engaged clubs and clubs that are meeting like multiple times a month and everything like that. We want to match students to find extracurriculars and opportunities like volunteer stuff like that match with their interests, and just make it a more impactful experience for underclassmen and people like searching for stuff to do.
We're also designing some senior shirts for our seniors this year, so this is one of the design options we had. And then we're also going to start initiating monthly student surveys through leadership. So we're going to send out a survey every month to the SS classes to try and get feedback from all the students and just input from like the entire student body. So we're not just getting feedback from people in leadership or in our close circle. So hopefully that'll help to increase inclusivity. And yeah, that's all we have for you guys.
Now, that was phenomenal. Yeah. Wait, any comments from the board?
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do want to say I'm pretty impressed. I like the names at the top, so you know who's going to speak. And then really, we love having you come, and so it's awesome. And I know this. You can come with support. It's wonderful. But yeah, you're being televised, which is kind of crazy. But you're actually telling us so much about what's going on at your schools. So keep it up. And this was phenomenal. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Will you just push that button so it goes? Thank you. To 8.0, Superintendent Kramer.
And for this, we'll turn to our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Mrs. Shawn Roderick.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the Board of Trustees, and community members. We are pleased to provide an update from our District English Learner Advisory Committee. This evening, we will share with you the significant work and collaborative efforts our families have engaged in throughout the school year. The 2026 DLAC and School Site English Learner Advisory Committees have demonstrated exceptional dedication in fostering family and community engagement across all of Tahoe Truckee Unified School District school sites. We are deeply grateful for their unwavering commitment to supporting the families, students, and families of TTUSD. It is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Colburn and Mrs. Kane, who will welcome and introduce our DLAC committee members.
I am still Sarah Colborn, the English Language Development Program Specialist for Tahoe Truckee Unified. Barbara Kane is my partner, a coordinator of bilingual services, community engagement, translations, and everything. And I have the pleasure of working closely with our DLAC. And so tonight, our DLAC will share several celebrations from some of our school sites. We couldn't get to all of them. We have so many examples to share. And so I'd like to call each member up. They will be presenting this evening. Julieta Higuera from Kings Beach Elementary. Absolutely, aplausos. Erica Garcia from Alder Creek. Selene Rodriguez from North Tahoe High School and Tahoe Lake. Maide Retes from Truckee Elementary and Alder Creek. Rosa Sumano from North Tahoe High and North Tahoe Middle. Selene Brambilla from Glenshire Elementary, Brambilla, and Alder Creek. Me pongo nerviosa. Perla Castellanos from Tahoe Lake and North Tahoe High School. And Guadalupe Medrano from Truckee Elementary. I just got really nervous. Do you feel really nervous? Are you guys nervous too? Okay. Tonight's really special in that our DLAC representatives will be presenting to you. Per request from last year, most, if not all, of our presentation will be in English. So there's a really wonderful risk-taking element from these amazingly proud people. Let's see, pardon me. So I do want to officially say good evening to our board members and thank you for having us. We here stand before you as DLAC, and this year is very special. For the first time, we have two co-presidents, Erica from our Truckee side schools and Julieta from our Lakeside schools, and they have been working with Barbara and myself to not only lead, but to plan and facilitate our DLAC meetings.
Well, our focus. To understand our work, you must know our focus. As students are the filter for all our decisions. We are proud to work with Ms. Roderick and Ms. Kramer, who listen to our voices. We don't just want our kids to reclassify, we want them to reach their biggest hopes and dreams.
We have a very successful year. DLAC won the California Golden Bell Award. We also helped the district align to the school calendar with our culture traditions like Semana Santa. We work with the leaders to make sure all families feel safe at school from preschool to high school.
Our boys make a difference in every school. We brought health and attendance lessons to our ELAC meetings. We ask for workshops on tests like LPAC and CAST to help our kids reach their goals. We even gave ideas for teacher training so staff can better support our families.
We are able to accomplish so much because we have more parents at our meetings since we changed our structure. We always start by sharing a meal together. This breaking bread builds trust. We also provide childcare. This means parents can focus completely and feel free to speak their minds.
Our DLAC representatives are working together more than ever. When one school has success, we share it with others, and we hope that these programs can actually spread to the school throughout the district. For example, Truckee Elementary started special before school programs for newcomers and long-term English learners. The result were amazing. Many students improved by 2 levels in just 1 year. We want to see this success at every school.
At North Tahoe Middle School, we are celebrating math. Our students use Avid strategies to lead their own tutorials and talk about mathematical thinking. We focus heavily on math vocabulary so students can explain their work with daily intervention classes and expert assistants. Our middle schoolers are building a very strong foundation in math.
At Glenshire, our school reading programs are changing lives. Our youngest students went from knowing almost no letters to reading 50 words a minute. In second and third grade, students doubled their phonics skills and graduated from reading support. In the upper grades, reading's accuracy reached up to 100%. Because of this hard work, our students are reclassifying as fluent English speakers.
At North Tahoe High, we care about the here to learn a new language. A student must feel safe to take risks. Our wellness center, known as the Little Room of Emotions, is a special place. The strong programs help our new students feel brave and resilient. It teaches that they belong here. When our students feel safe, they are ready to learn.
Estamos celebrando nuestra comunidad en crecimiento. Este año tuvimos la segunda cumbre de PTO y DILAC. Los padres de cada escuela trabajaron juntos para planificar nuestras metas. Nuestros grupos de ILAC y PTO ahora son socios. Eventos como la Kermés son más simples recaudaciones de fondos. Son puentes que unen nuestras diferentes culturas y familias como una sola.
We, of course, need to honor bilingualism. We are to support Guadalupe. We are celebrating our growing community. This year, we had the second PTO and DLAC Summit. Parents from every school worked together to plan our goals. Our ELAC and PTO groups are now partners. Events like the Kermés are more than just fundraisers. They are bridges that bring our different cultures and families together as one.
DLAC is taking parents partnering with teachers to a new level. We are starting a new project called the Listen and Learning Tour. Assistant Superintendent Roderick will visit every school to listen to our parents who don't usually attend meetings. Our voices will help share the district strategy plan for our children. Thank you.
So thank you for listening to the celebrations of DLAC. We are super proud to be expanding as true partners, and the Listening and Learning Tour is a great example of DLAC wanting to partner directly with teachers moving forward. And thank you to Ms. Roderick for supporting that. So to close tonight, we want to share a DLAC tradition with you as we did last year. At the end of every DLAC meeting, we have an intentional closure called the last word. Tonight, our presenters, our parents, and the parents here, and our district staff are each going to share one word that describes our feelings about this year in our biggest hopes for next year. And then we're hoping you'll take a picture with all of us afterwards. Aprendizaje y learning.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. It's such a big deal, you don't even know. That was amazing. La próxima vez. Thank you so much.
And each of the board members, you should have a sticker from us. It says Somos DLAC. We are DLAC. It's for your water bottles because we don't use plastic water bottles here.
Correct.
President Driller.
Before you kick off, thank you very much for that. Any comments from the board?
Just thank you for your presentation. I'm always so impressed when you're willing to come speak in a language that's not your first language. I don't know if I would be able to do that comfortably, so I'm very impressed. And it's always such nice information for us to have, too.
Oh my gosh, okay. For those of you who are sitting here that this is the biggest deal of the school year for me at the seat, I am so proud of you because we see these ladies at meetings and at events, and of course you will always be welcome to speak Spanish. 100%, you will always be welcome to do that. But last year there was a challenge put to them, and you know, your kids, what you did for your kids tonight is immeasurable. You showed that you have courage, that you can assimilate and still be who you are and the ethnicity that you are. I'm just going to stop talking, but thank you so much for taking the challenge. I am so, so proud to be a Latina woman sitting here knowing that you will be next because you're already making huge strides for our district with your input and your participation. Thank you. Good job.
I could see Chris squirming the whole time. So, again, I forgot the challenge, but that was amazing. I too agree that speaking, and that's what I was referencing, the young children speaking in public with a mic when you know you're on TV or even without having a language difference is scary. So really, really thank you. But I also want to say, I commend Sean or Ms. Roderick, and your team of just getting the word out and getting a foot on the ground and then running. You guys have taken off. I think you said it, that you changed the way the meetings were, and sometimes that's all it is. But you have much more of a foot in the door now, and I think that everyone's willing to listen. And what Clerk Hennessy just said, that it takes tenacity and courage to do what you did, and we're excited. We're happy to have you helping us. Yeah, that was awesome. I will use my sticker. Thank you. With that, we will move to public comment, and if you decide to stay, you can, or you can mosey on. Are these students? Okay. Because otherwise, what I'll do is I will bring up our students for public comment first, and if I miss you when I do the students, let me know. Again, for those of you who haven't used our public comment opportunity, this is something that's an item that's not on the agenda, and it is your chance to give us information on something that's concerning you, and you have 3 minutes. There is a timer that will indicate that it's time to stop, and being respectful of all those that would like to speak, we're asking you that you stop at 3 minutes. With that, I will bring up Cody Johnson, and then after that is going to be Eric Johnson. And if you'll come to the podium and just make sure that the button is on so it's green. And then after that is Ethan. Are those my students? And what was your name? Kieran. Okay, good. Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, you guys can stay. Cody, you can come, but if, Eric, you want to stand up there and help him out, don't be shy. You only get to speak 3 minutes, though. But, do you want him to go first?
Yeah, he can go.
Or no, you want him, do whatever you need to do.
Okay. I'm just speaking on behalf of...
Wait, can you tell us your name? Who are you?
My name is Eric Johnson.
Okay, there you go, sorry.
I'm Cody's father.
Perfect.
Cody is a distance runner on the cross country and long distance team on track. And we have really loved having Coach Stratton as his coach. He's a fantastic human being, dedicating immeasurable time and energy into one of the hardest sports, which is long distance running. It's so painful when you're running that race. And he knows this, he has a foundation in this, and he's a kind person. And I just feel, I don't know why he's not being rehired, but it feels like an injustice to me. And I just wanted to express that in support of Coach Stratton. So I hope you would reconsider because he's been an asset to our kids. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that we've won back-to-back state championships. I'm a sophomore running for him, and so we won my freshman year and then this last year, and it definitely wouldn't have been possible without him. He's the one who creates all our workout plans for the whole season and through the summer, and I just really appreciate him and what he does.
Thank you very much for doing that, Cody. Well done. That wasn't easy, but that's good. There'll be more. You can come again. Ethan and then Karen. Is that right, Karen? Is that what I said? Thank you. Ethan, then Karen.
Okay. Hi, my name's Ethan Skolnick. I'm an athlete on the cross country and track and field teams, and I have been since 2023. I'm currently a junior. I've been running since my freshman year. As I understand it, there was a recent decision to not renew Stratton Schemmel as a coach for both Truckee cross country and Truckee track. I've experienced a variety of coaches while participating in both teams, and Stratton Schemmel has been one of the best, if not the best, that I have run under. I would implore you to reconsider the discontinuation of Stratton as a coach, as he has been an incredible benefit to every team I have been on, and in my opinion, his loss would not improve the team dynamic. Speaking on a team level, I will say that whenever I have experienced a positive dynamic on the cross-country team, Stratton has been a key and core part of it. When I think back to my best days and my best time as a cross-country athlete, every one of those peaks has involved Stratton. I have seen Stratton work hard to improve the team dynamic, and to remove him from the team would be to remove the person who has made the greatest effort to better the relationship between athletes and coaches. I'd also like to speak about Stratton on a more personal level. When I joined cross country my freshman year, it was the first organized sport I had ever done. It was new and unfamiliar experience, and that first day I felt like I was going to die. I thought myself a reasonably athletic person, but I was entirely unprepared for what running as a sport would be like. But despite my discomfort and pain, I decided to come back the next day, and I did that because of Stratton. I did that because he went out of his way to make sure I was okay after that first run. I did that because he went out of his way to make sure that I understood that even though it hurt right now, it would improve as I did. I came back because of Stratton, and because of him, I've grown into an athlete who's run as part of a back-to-back state-winning team, our first state-winning team in over 2 decades. I speak not only for myself, but for a variety of athletes when I say that what we've been able to do in the past 2 years is in no small part due to Stratton's efforts. Stratton also isn't just a coach for many of us. For me and many others, he has been a mentor, a life coach, and a role model. When I think about what I've learned in high school, I see 2 broad categories: academic content and life skills. For me, most of the skills I've learned from cross country, I've learned from Stratton. Stratton has taught me the value of hard work, he has taught me the value of perseverance, and he has taught me the value of team spirit and community. The ways in which I've grown as a person from sports are the ways in which Stratton has helped me grow. When I think of who has taught me content, whether it be mathematics, science, or history, there are a whole host of names I conjure up. When I think of who has taught me to be a good person, Stratton stands in a league of his own. I hope I've managed to outline for you the ways in which Stratton has been an amazing coach, and I hope I have helped to reveal a tiny sliver of the ways in which Stratton has helped me and many others. I speak from my heart when I say that Stratton is key to why I continue to do cross country, and that I think letting him go is a mistake. I hope you will reconsider, and I hope your wisdom will prevail. Thank you.
Nice work. Did you practice?
Yes.
I saw you look at the clock. That was really good. Kieran, and then after that, we have Rachel Tostada. Perfect.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kieran Phillips, and I'm a recently graduated senior from Truckee High, and I've been a member of the jazz band under the direction of Jesse Steele for 4 years. I'm also a member of the Reno Youth Jazz Orchestra for 3.5 years, and I'd like to thank you for letting me come forward and speak on this today. I'd first like to say that music is a binding force that connects communities and bridges cultural gaps. It is a crucial part of the educational system, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to play with such dedicated, passionate students and teachers for the past 4 years, and I intend on continuing this passion of mine into college. But there is a vital concern that has been overlooked, a problem that has only grown over the years, and it is the start time of 6:30 a.m., which all students have to abide by in order to practice for the hour we get every weekday. As a student, I've watched countless friends and peers change as this time cuts into their sleep schedules. I've watched talented, motivated students arrive exhausted before the school day has even begun. I've watched students struggle to balance academics, athletics, extracurriculars, clubs, jobs, family responsibilities, and music, often sacrificing sleep to do so. I've seen bright musicians drawn to suicidal tendencies, and I have no doubt that lack of sleep was a contributing factor. I have seen common colds last for months and even transform into walking pneumonia. I've seen students sleep through entire classes. I've seen joyful students weep, alone in practice rooms, terrified that they might be forced to lose the one thing that lets them escape from their troubles. I have seen music go from an integral part of someone's life to a chore, a grueling experience that leaves kids with a choice between their health and their passion. A month or so ago, we performed for you all, which was awesome, by the way. Thank you, guys. And sent out a general invite to witness our rehearsals for yourselves. I know the leading member of the board said she would be in attendance. I was disappointed to see that nobody could make it. I just want the care that you all show towards our program to be indicative of the way that our students should be treated. Kids are losing themselves over the years piece by piece, and the only thing they get in return is a kind of deal-with-it mindset that has put kids in danger for much longer than I've been around. I want something or anything to change. This has gone on for far too long, and I was surprised from the first week I entered our band room that there hasn't been any true action over this issue. If there could even be some awareness for this egregious and unnecessary problem, I would be satisfied, because there have been countless opportunities to address this and none have been taken. I, much like all of you, know how valuable our students are, and I would hate to see something so impactful swept under the rug for the sake of ease. I'm not standing here because I love music any less. I'm standing here because I care deeply about this program, and I want future students to have the same opportunities I had without having to sacrifice their well-being in the process. And I thank you guys very much for supporting music over the years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wait, can I ask, you have a tennis shirt too. Are you playing tennis too?
Yes.
Dang, nice work. Nice work. Okay, so thank you very much for that. Rachel, and then after Rachel is Is it Ellen Cooper?
Hi, my name is Rachel Posada. I'm a longtime Truckee resident, and I'm the parent of 3 students who have graduated from TTUSD, including my youngest, who just graduated last weekend. I'd like to start by saying that I really appreciate your time and contribution to help make the district as excellent as it is. Most of you have careers in addition to being board members, as well as any other number of commitments. You are part of a key group of people in our community who do far more than your fair share and who deserve the greatest respect. Our coaches are part of that group as well. We are privileged to have talented men and women give their time and energy to our student athletes. No one can deny how hard they work and the dedication they bring to each sport. Now and then, however, there might arise differing opinions or frustrations about decisions or a lack thereof. That's normal. It's part of life. What is also normal, commonplace, and appropriate is to talk through the issues. If necessary, mediation is the proper path. It is not appropriate to ignore, minimize, or to sweep a situation under the rug. Stratton Schemmel is extraordinary. He has been a key factor in growing the Truckee High Distance program over the last 4 years and elevating it to an elite level. He's smart, funny, fair, and he is open to constructive feedback. I don't understand why Stratton isn't being renewed to coach in the 26-27 school year, but more importantly, the person most effective doesn't have a clear understanding either, nor has he had an opportunity to respond to whatever the problem might be. None of you would accept this silent decision if you were in his shoes. None of you. This ruling warrants review and revision. It appears that there's a glitch in the annual process, and it isn't equitable. Families, students, and coaches deserve better. I have high expectations of you because I chose you to be my elected representatives. I trust you, and I trust that you will examine this further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. After Ellen, Stratton, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ellen Cooper. I am the parent of a Truckee High cross-country and track athlete. I'm here to express my support for Coach Stratton Schemmel and to encourage the district to reconsider the non-renewal of his contract as a coach. Most of you probably haven't met Stratton. I've been lucky enough to know him since my students started in the fall of 2023 as a freshman. We've watched him blossom from a novice runner to a successful, fierce competitor who has helped bring home multiple state titles for Truckee High. As a parent, I've come to realize serious distance running is no joke. It takes effort, consistency, perseverance, and tolerance of consistent discomfort, if not outright pain. To get students to buy into a program that is honestly full of hard days, you need a coaching staff that has a vision and a commitment to these athletes and their development. Stratton has been a key member of the coaching staff for years. He shows up with a positive attitude, high standards, and a deep and abiding commitment to making each athlete their absolute best. He has been a fantastic communicator with parents and brings a high-level quality approach to planning a season worth of training. He also believes in these kids. He believes that they have the work ethic, the commitment, and the drive to be better. He sees them as more than runners or athletes, but as people who are transitioning into adulthood. They are better for his presence in their lives. Our families are heartbroken at this decision. Obviously, employment decisions do not belong in the public arena, but many people, including myself, have asked for a better understanding of the district policy and procedure that got us here, and we have been told nothing. I think it's reasonable as parents and taxpayers to have an understanding of in a publicly transparent process, even if the details are not shared with us. Our athletic programs are filled to the brim with community members who are stepping up for our kids, spending countless hours with them and away from their own families, and helping Truckee families raise the next generation. We are asking for the district to take Stratton's commitment to our kids seriously and to value him like many of us do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ellen. Stratton, and then after Stratton would be Ellie Phillips, please.
Good evening. My name is Stratton Schemmel. I served as the assistant boys cross country coach and track distance coach. Over the past year, the athletes I've coached helped bring home 10 state championship titles. I dressed up tonight because I figured I was going to try and persuade the school board I should at least look the part. So I'm here, a little uncomfortable, a lot overdressed, and very much human. I want to start there because sometimes these processes, people stop feeling like people. Coaches become staffing decisions. Relationships become complaints. Years of work become a single line in an email. Thank you for your time. But I'm a person, I'm a coach, and for 5 years this program has meant a great deal to me. Over those 5 years I've had a strange joy convincing teenagers to run in circles, up hills, through rain, through snow, in smoke, in heat, and in the early mornings when no teenager should be asked to move quickly. And somehow, despite my repeated attempts to make them tired on purpose, many athletes and parents have written to you or shown up here and said incredibly kind things about me tonight. To them, I want to say thank you. Your support means more than I can ever convey. That, to me, is coaching. It is not just writing workouts. It is earning trust over time. It is showing up. It is noticing when someone is hurt, frustrated, anxious, overtrained, underconfident, or ready for more. It is a bus ride, van ride, race plans, parent questions, bad jokes, orange socks, late emails, too many emojis, and the quiet moments when an athlete starts to realize they are capable of more than they thought. And then there's all the work around the edges of a program, meets, overnights, fundraisers, parent communication, social media, meat barbecues, team dinners, sports banquets, team outings. The seasons where I gave up my stipend because the program needed more support from other coaches than I needed a check. And it all adds up. 5 years, 10 seasons, 14 weeks per season. That's 140 weeks. That's 2.7 years of my time. Over 700 days. Reading really fast. 1,700 hours. In minutes, that is over 100,000 minutes. Not a lifetime, but enough time to become woven into the life of a program. So when I hear the decision was made in the best interest of students, I'm asking the district if the best interest of all students were carefully considered, if only the squeaky wheel got the oil, or if one squeak led to the district to take apart the whole engine. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Stratton. Ellie, and then Riley Wilcox is next.
I'm Ellie Phillips. I'm the mother of Kieran Phillips. Thank you for giving me the time to speak today. I want to say a few words about Kieran to put his remarks in context. I think it's easy to dismiss teens and believe they're somehow lazy or trying to spend less time doing stuff. He just graduated from Truckee High with a weighted GPA of over 4.0. He received the School English Language Award. He dual enrolled at Sierra College. He undertook multiple APs. He achieved the seal of biliteracy in English and Spanish, and he exceeded the graduation requirements of Truckee High. He was also a starting player for the tennis team for 4 years. He won regional and state tennis medals in doubles, and he was tennis captain for the last 2 years of his school career. He also played in jazz band for 4 years, despite the struggle with the start time, because he loves jazz. He played in the selective high school jazz combo. He was in the Reno Youth Jazz Orchestra for 3 years. He's an accomplished and dedicated musician. He was also in journalism. He wrote for the Truckee Times for 4 years and was managing co-editor for his final year. He also worked for all 4 years of his high school career. So he's just one example of kids at Truckee High who are seriously not lazy kids. They're really trying hard. I was really surprised and disappointed when he started at Truckee High that the start time was still so early. I reached out to several people, and I think the most problem was my concerns were simply dismissed, despite the evidence of how harmful the early start time is to teens. I think the problem is that many people who believe it's working okay don't actually have to deal with the consequences. So for parents, we have to struggle to get our children out of bed in the morning and to school, often before it actually gets light. We have to manage the fallout of their exhaustion and other impacts, including on their mental health. And I worry about the impacts of driving while tired, which is as bad as driving while impaired by substances, which is obviously highly problematic. I worry about the impact on teachers and administrators who have to deal with the disruptions of late students, students missing classes, tired kids, falling asleep in class, and potentially other impacts. So lack of sleep impacts executive function, which will impact behaviour and therefore has an impact on the behaviour at the school, also on academic attainment and completion. And also fundamentally on the kids themselves. They feel like they're not heard, they're tired, they're unhappy, and they feel like their concerns and needs are not taken into account. I read the board beliefs, and the first item listed is that students are the focus of all decisions. So I seriously hope at some point you can give some consideration to changing this and actually giving the students of Truckee High School a chance to complete high school, achieve everything they achieve without being exhausted, impacted mentally and physically. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Riley, and then Jesse. And is there anyone else who has not filled out a form that would like to speak? Okay. Thanks, Riley.
Thank you. Thanks, Truckee Board. My name is Riley Wilcox, and I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of Stratton Chamel. I've had 2 children come through the Truckee School District. My daughter, Paige, graduated 2 years ago. My son, Kiefer, just graduated a couple of days ago. I consider myself lucky to have both of them as runners under Coach Stratton. Stratton's everything you'd want in a coach. He is first and foremost a leader by example. He's competed as a runner in college himself, and he continues to run today, pushing himself, seeing what his body can do. He shows that it's not just about athletics in your high school and college career. It's about taking those on to your later life and carrying that as part of who you are. Stratton also is a hard worker. He's a hard-working professional. He shows that you can do these athletics but also succeed both in that athletic area and, as we all know, being students in academics first. He leads by that example. As a result of his athletic experience, Stratton is also a tremendous thinker about the sport of running. As you've heard earlier, he plans the seasons impeccably, the trajectory of building base and then building speed and really reaching that peak of their athletic performance at the time that it matters most. And so that it carries through not just at that high level, but every single week we get emails about the plan for the athletes and a great level of detail about what they're going to do, the results they can take away from it. And then beyond that, for those athletes who are not able to follow the general team plan, he pulls together individualized plans for those athletes who are recovering from an injury or having something particular that requires that extra attention. Stratton puts a tremendous amount of thought and care into those athletes. We see the care when athletes have a tough day, whether it's a day of training or a race result they didn't expect. He helps them see that it's not just this one race. It is that big picture, that life view of they have many races ahead, they have many opportunities to succeed. And so he helps them see that it is not just about today's or this minute's result or action. It's about their ability to grow and learn from being an athlete, learning from those failures, getting better down the road. Those coaching aspects of thoughtfulness and care have produced results, and we've heard the results. Multiple state championships, great participation in the team, a room full of families here in his support. It's also support in the terms of individuals themselves. As Stratton has carried on as a runner himself, I see it in my family as well. My daughter ran, she continues to run. She calls herself an everyday runner, but last summer she did her first marathon. This summer she will do another one. My son is also continuing to run. In fact, he'll be running and was recruited by UC Berkeley and will be competing for them as a student athlete at that school. So as I see this decision not to renew Stratton's contract, and the primary driving reason that I have heard is that it is in the best interest of the students. I really would ask you to think, as you look out at these students here and you hear my story of my 2 children who benefited by him, how we can consider the broadest benefit of those students with Stratton down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Riley. Mr. Steele.
Hello, my name is Jesse Steele. I'm the band director at Truckee High School. I want to thank you. I feel like I just did this. But I want to thank you all for your support over the years and supporting the arts in our district. We have a really thriving district when it comes to the arts, and it's been going on for a long time, so thank you so very much. But I have been teaching at Truckee High for 12 years, and we've been doing the 6:30 early bird jazz the entire time. Every year, students who love jazz and for the most part really love school start the year bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited for the year to come. There's energy in the room and excitement and a genuine love of playing music. It's a beautiful thing. This usually lasts for a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe a little bit more. But after repeatedly waking up day after day for a 6:30 class, I've consistently seen these amazing students become tired, lethargic, and really start to lose their joy. It takes a massive toll on their ability to come to school each day with the energy and mindset required to be at their best, and you just see it fade so quickly. Many students begin to accrue countless tardies and absences, and when they're able to tough it out and still come despite being sleep deprived, they're often unfocused and they literally struggle to keep their eyes open. When many students are frequently absent and late, it affects everybody else because we do rely on one another to play music together. What would otherwise be something that people would love and look forward to eventually becomes a grind. These students love music so much that they persist, but there's a clear and obvious negative impact on their well-being as a result. After COVID, I noticed the same thing in students, but even more magnified. It is obvious to me that there is a district-wide emphasis on social and emotional learning, as we do it consistently in our classes, and we're trained on it repeatedly. But when these students are consistently sleep deprived, it seems that a lot of the efforts we put into their mental health could be more impactful if only they were able to receive adequate sleep. I've brought this up to some of you in the past, and it was mentioned to me. Didn't I have early bird jazz band when I was a student in the district? And the answer is yes, but there's a lot of things we did in the 90s that we now know are just not right. I've seen numerous students develop serious mental health issues over the years, with several of them being 5150'd. And I strongly believe it can be attributed to their lack of sleep. It's something I would like to see change for the best interest of our students. I feel like if somehow we could move the start time back an hour, or maybe even half an hour, we would see a significant positive impact on the mental health and academic outcomes of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Okay, with that, I want to thank everyone for coming up and, okay, let me,
Sorry, I didn't know the actual protocol.
okay, let me just write your name. Who are you?
I am Josh Birnbaum,
Josh, thank you.
Birnbaum. All right, I am here to speak on behalf of Stratton, Coach Stratton. I've been privileged to coach with him for the last 5 years. I consider him a friend. I've observed him with other coaches and how he's treated athletes, and his interaction with athletes has always been supportive, positive, motivating, very casual as far as never seen him get upset. He's always kept his cool. He's always been, from my perspective, a positive influence on the athletes that he coaches. I think he's an asset to the track team along with cross country. And I just want to say that I strongly support him coaching. And I've witnessed him for the last 5 years. And I feel strongly about his attitude and his perspective as a positive part of the track team, and not just to the athletes, like I said, to the coaches as well. He's a joy to be around. He's intelligent, he's introspective, he's very conscious and aware. I can't say much more, but other than that, I just strongly support him coaching.
Thank you very much, Josh. I don't know if I know his name, but thank you.
One more.
Okay. I just need okay, there we go. It's all right, this is making me right.
Gustafson, Erica Gustafson.
I'm sorry, Erica, what was your name? Oh, sorry, okay, thank you.
Yeah. I don't have anything prepared, obviously, but I did just want to actually get up and speak since I am here. Coach Stratton has coached all 3 of my boys over the past 5 years. My oldest was a senior and had a wonderful season under Coach Stratton, and was very upset to hear the news that he was not going to be coming back next year. My youngest son is a freshman, and I will say he was not excited about going out for cross country this year. He was known to walk at all of cross country races in middle school, and he came out and was so excited to be running after that first run that they met up with Coach Stratton, and he gave it his all. He was actually the only freshman that was invited to run in regionals this year for cross country. He is already out running. He is so excited, but when he got into the car the day that he found out the news, his first thought was, well, I guess I can't do cross country anymore. That is how impactful Coach Stratton has been. And he would be here tonight, my son would, but he has finals tomorrow, so he is studying for that. But I just wanted to convey our family, my husband Matthew, and all three of my boys, how much we are in support of Coach Stratton, and we really hope that you reconsider. It will not be the same without him. Thank you.
Well, will you just grab me one of those yellow things when you come up? So, is it right there or not? Never mind. I'll just write it on a scrap. But you're good. Come on up. We want you. We want you. This is... It's all right, though. This is good. Hi.
Hi, I'm Suzette Birnbaum. I'm
Suzette.
Josh's wife, volunteer coach. I actually want to speak on both issues tonight. I was a competitive AAU swimmer for I don't even know how long, and my morning workouts were crazy, getting to the pool at 5:30. And I just want to say that getting up that early, day in, day out, for something that you love takes the joy out of it.
Mhm.
It's a real push, a real challenge. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth. And on to Stratton. Stratton is just a wonderful guy. I've had the privilege of knowing him as a coach and also as a dad. I have a business in town, and he brings this little boy, and we just had a lovely art session with his son and his mom this past Friday, and it's really fun to see coaches and staff with their children and see them in a totally different light. He's a very compassionate man and cares deeply about all his runners, and it also shows with his community of coaches as well. I will say that having a husband who has volunteered for the last, 4 years for football and 5 for track. We don't have anybody in track this season, but he loved it so much and loved working with Stratton that he chose to do it even though we don't have any children in the program. It is a tremendous, tremendous amount of time away from your family. Tremendous. And it's all volunteer. It's all of the goodness of their heart because they love it. And that should really be honed into when considering Stratton's position next year. People are doing this because they love it, and they are dedicating their time when he has children at home that he could be spending that time with them as well. But he's sharing his talents and his love for a sport that is essential for our youth of this generation to have that outlet and to have that opportunity to be coached by a really good human. You don't always get that. And not a yeller, which is huge because we have some yellers in our staff of sports. Thank you so much. I hope you will reconsider your decision.
Thank you for speaking, Suzette. Okay, so this officially will close public comment. We do appreciate every one of you coming and speaking because this is how we obviously hear things. As you know, this is not an interactive activity, so we listen and then we take it all in and then we ask the leaders and the legals to do their thing. So really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, students especially, for being here. And you're more than welcome to sneak out as we continue on our business, but really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Superintendent report, Superintendent Kramer.
Thank you, President Driller. So first, I want to share a brief update on the Community Athletic Committee, which met for the second time last week. So this is a collaborative group that's made up of district staff, partners from our local recs and park districts, parents, and local community members. And during our first meeting, we focused on the overall athletic facility needs for our district sports program And in particularly, we're focusing on the programs impacted by the mandated transition to the California Interscholastic Federation, to CIF. And at that time, that first meeting, we determined that our highest priority focus should be indoor facilities to support our winter and spring sports programs. So then at last week's meeting on June 2nd, we shifted our conversation to funding. And the Truckee Donner Recreation and Park District recently concluded their exploration of bringing a potential bond to the voters, but they decided not to move forward with that at this time. So this decision, learning that from them, and we certainly appreciate Sven and his whole team working with us and sharing that, this helped our community refocus our discussions about potential public-private partnerships. And through that conversation, we learned that there's some logistical challenges with this route. For a private-public partnership indoor facility to be financially feasible, it's probably going to be a multi-use space rather than just a competitive-sized soccer venue, for example. So we recognize that that facility would be a wonderful asset for the broader community and for our students. It really would not specifically address our need of a competition-sized facility for us as a school district. But we certainly recognize that it would be amazing for our community to have some indoor facilities. And then the last funding opportunity that we reviewed is Assemblywoman Heather Hadwick, who's been actively advocating for our district. And she put a request into the state budget to have funds for us to build 2 indoor field houses. And we haven't heard anything back about that yet. We're anticipating, as the state's finalizing the budget, hopefully we would hear something in July. So I just really appreciate the committee. They're very much problem-solving, creative thinkers. We have great, transparent discussions. We plan to meet in July just to get an update if we hear anything from Assemblywoman Hadwick. And we are doing a virtual meeting, and we meet in person as well, just to accommodate everyone's schedules. But it's a great team, and we really appreciate their time. So we are almost to summer break. We have one more half day, and we're really excited that once again our incredible food services team is providing summer meals. So we're so grateful for their efforts. They'll be providing meals for the Truckee side programs, our Boys and Girls Club, ELOT program, our extended school year, our credit recovery programs. And then they're also still doing the neighborhood meal programs where they drive out and have 5 lunches and breakfasts for the whole week ready for the kids. So they're anticipating about 4,000 meals per week will be distributed. So hats off to that team. And that starts June 29th. And then I just want to say thank you as we wrap up the year. Our volunteers are incredible. As you, as the board know, the last couple of weeks, our campuses have been buzzing with activity. The kids are going on field trips, there's special end-of-year performances, classroom celebrations, field trips, graduation prep, and none of this would happen without these amazing volunteers. So we really appreciate the parents, guardians, and community members who have chaperoned, organized, decorated, or simply showed up to cheer on our students. We really thank you. Your time and energy and heart make our schools the special places that they are. So we just want to recognize all the extra efforts. And even tomorrow, many schools at the elementary level have their carnival days, so I know our volunteers aren't done yet. So thank you.
PE programs at the elementary school level, also college preparatory classes such as advanced placement classes, science education, outdoor education, and academic electives. Also, the other categories are career technical education, classroom equipment and supplies that would not be funded otherwise, technology equipment and curriculum, physical education, visual and performing arts, and libraries, as well as social emotional support, which includes counseling and nursing services, and also social emotional learning materials and supplies.
So one change with this renewal is that we are asking that the current rate of $148 per parcel will be increased to $188, an additional $40 to essentially cover the loss in buying power or inflation that we've experienced since the last renewal in 2018. In addition, there is language in here to be able to keep up with that cost of living with an annual CPI increase starting in 2028-29. And another difference between this and the last renewal measure is that this will actually replace the existing Measure A cycle 1 year early. So it would take effect on July 1st, 2027. So we're reviewing this now with the board to see if there's any changes or any suggestions or feedback you can provide before bringing the final resolution to the board for consideration and approval on June 24th.
Wow, thank you very, very much for that, Todd. Mr. Rivera, any comments from our board?
Question?
Questions, sorry.
CPI, what is that?
Consumer Price Index essentially tracks the price of goods and services, and specifically in this resolution, we'd be using the Bay Area of California CPI index. And year over year, as costs increase, the state tracks that. Bureau, I don't remember what the index is, but yeah, essentially we would apply that annual CPI to the rate every year.
Thank you.
I don't have any changes. I think it's good the way that we have it. And I think because we already set the stage by having the presentation at our last meeting on sort of all the specifics of the success of having the increase of the $40, I feel pretty confident that our community is very supportive of education. So I feel like we're doing everything we should to kind of present this information to the community, and it's put together well. So.
I just want to reconfirm or affirm for people watching that what they're currently paying of $144 is per year, not per month, and that the $188 will be per year and not per month. Just want to put that out there for anyone new to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I do want to also, what Danielle was saying in terms of our public has seen this, I think it's important that they do realize that we did that survey. We've done a very pretty thorough discussion, and we've had our company that we work with is extremely versed in this area. So I think we are in a good spot. The only thing that I was just going to ask, you mentioned, Todd, and I didn't catch this, is that it's a year earlier. So Measure AA would have gone to 27, 28, and then we are now just jumping the gun a little bit just to make sure that we get it. Or that was part of our surveys. I mean, I guess I just didn't get it was a year early.
So we're going out to election prior to the expiration, well in advance, so that
okay. So it's just a safer move.
So that we can basically, if it doesn't pass, we have maybe other opportunities because it is such a vital funding resource for us. However, this measure, the way it's written, would replace the existing Measure AA parcel tax 1 year early. It's supposed to be expiring in 2027, 2028 after that school year. But if this is approved, this measure will essentially replace that in the 27-28 school year.
I think it's just important that the timing of this is such that it is important, and then we had to do this. And otherwise, if we didn't, we would lose all those things that you just mentioned. And so I guess I'll compliment you on your strategic planning on that, because if it doesn't work, then we are well beyond recovery. Okay, with that, no more further discussion. It is a information only, so I'll move to 12.0 grants. Superintendent.
For both items, we will be turning to Mrs. Roderick.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, the Truckee Rotary Community Foundation is generously providing a $1,298 grant to begin a new photography course and support the existing yearbook program at Truckee High School. These funds will be used to help purchase additional cameras. It is the staff's recommendation that the Board of Trustees accepts this generous grant from the Truckee Rotary Community Foundation.
Thank you very much for that, Mrs. Roderick. Any comments from the board? Besides, thank you, Truckee Rotary. I definitely will say thank you to Truckee Rotary Club. I will make a motion to accept grant 12.1. Is there a second? Thank you, Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. 12.2, Superintendent Kramer.
Mrs. Roderick?
Thank you. Again, for your consideration this evening, we are excited to share that the Truckee Rotary Community Foundation has generously awarded a $4,500 grant to Alder Creek Middle School. This was requested by Ms. Hamilton to benefit students to fund their winter SWEP activities, PE classes, and outdoor field trips with snowshoes. It is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees accepts this generous grant from the Truckee Rotary Community Foundation.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? I will make a comment that they're definitely thinking ahead right now. I was thinking that sunbathing and swimming would be more along the lines, but I appreciate Alder Creek for being ahead of the curve. Would anyone care to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to accept grant from Rotary Club of Truckee for the Alder Creek Middle School's winter program.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, thank you. 13.0, I think we all received one from TTEA, and then I'm assuming
Everyone is very busy, so.
Everyone is busy.
We know our bargaining units are doing a great job, and we hope they have a great summer, and we will see them back here in the new year.
in the new year. Thank you very much for that. 14.0. At this point, I think I'll close the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting, and I will open a public hearing and turn it over to you, Superintendent Kramer.
And for this item, Mrs. Roderick will talk about the LCAP.
Thank you. State law requires the board to hold a public hearing before adopting its 24-27 local control and accountability plan. The public hearing must be held at the same meeting as the public hearing scheduled for the 2026-2027 proposed budget. The hearing cannot be held at the same meeting as the formal budget adoption. LCAP goals and actions support the 8 state priorities and the 7 areas identified in the TTUSD strategic plan. The public hearing provides the community with an opportunity to comment on or suggest changes to the 2024-2027 local control accountability plan prior to adoption. Included in the LCAP is the federal addendum. The addendum is a supplement to the LCAP to ensure that eligible LEAs have the opportunity to meet the local educational plan provisions for Every Student Succeeds Act. In addition, the local performance indicator self-reflection is included to show the district's progress in meeting the requirements of the specific local control funding formula priority. I will bring back the 2026-2027 Local Control Accountability Plan to the board for review and approval at the June 24th board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roderick. Are there any comments from the board on this item? Okay, this is info only. So thank you for that. We'll move to 14.2. Superintendent Kramer?
Yes, for this public hearing, we'll turn to Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. So same thing applies to the proposed budget for the 2025-26 school year. We're required to also, as Assistant Superintendent Roderick already stated, we're required to have a public hearing for our budget as well. So this budget has been available to the public since Friday, meeting the requirements to be available 72 hours before our public hearing. What you'll see in the attachments is basically the basic SACS documents that are required from the state. So it includes our general fund as well as all of our other funding sources, and also our criteria and standards, multi-year projection. Does not include the narrative yet, and that will be included in the final proposed budget, which we will bring back on June 24th.
A little nervous about that June 24th meeting. There's a lot going on. Are there any comments for the budget, proposed budget, 26-27? Seeing none, that is info only. So at this point, I will close the public hearing. Thank you for your input. And then I will open the TTUSD board meeting for 15.0 consent. Superintendent Kramer.
No items to pull from
Thank you.
staff.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Anything to pull? Any board want to pull anything from or make comments on? With that, a reminder that everything that is in the consent agenda is something that we have seen before or we've talked about, and so that it has been put on the consent to approve all at once. And with that, would anyone care to make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving to 17.0, first read. Superintendent Kramer.
And for this item, we will turn to our Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Mike Shepard.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. Per your direction, we're bringing back this policy with some corrections or some edits. And so the first one, the second read is what I'll go over first because that includes your changes that you requested. So if you turn to the second page of the policy, we struck out for inappropriate physical interactions such as we struck out employee-initiated hugs and allowing students to sit on employees' knees or lap, as we had a discussion last month and per your direction for your consideration. For the first read of this, I brought you an alternate version that you requested to see. This is the CSBA recommended version of this boundary policy. And with that, any questions I can answer.
Thank you for that, Mr. Shepard. Anything from the board in reference to this process and updates? Danielle?
No, I mean, I read it all, and then I sat with it for a while, and I feel like I'm still not 100% there, and I don't know why. And I think it's just a struggle with the subject, that one, that we have to have this, but two, how are we sort of dealing with the fact that we have, our littlest littles, right, who are coming in TK all the way through high school, and like their needs are just so fundamentally different. So I didn't have an answer in my head other than I read it and I understood that you were responding to the changes that we talked about, which I appreciate. I just don't know if I'm totally comfortable with it yet.
I struggled as well, and I think it's just the subject matter. It's such a huge responsibility. Yeah, I mean, TKers, kindergartners, second graders, their nurturing looks different and should be allowed to be different, right, than a middle schooler. There's just no realistic thought in my brain of why a 13-year-old should sit on a teacher's lap, but a little 5-year-old, I don't, this is a difficult one, and I know that Director Levac also had a lot of thoughts and questions around this. So, I mean, what would be the next step for us, because we want to bring this back to action. So do we get to sit with this for 2 more weeks, or is there something we should be considering?
Well, and having Trustee Levac available to participate too, I think would be important since she was also interested in it, yeah.
Yeah, because I know she felt, well, I don't want to speak for her, but what I remember is also realizing like a 5-year-old can use a hug, and so, yeah.
I mean, before we get direction two, I do want to say that it is one of those overarching, how do we protect the school district, and how do we protect us from any kind of litigation or whatnot, but also going back to what's best for students, that is, it's a person, right? So that you have to look at each individual case separately. So it is a tough one because we do have to stay within our parameters of legal. If something were to go awry, and then that would be an issue. But I don't know if there's, and then Michael, you could tell us, I don't know if there's going to be ever a clear-cut answer that, yes to 5-year-olds and no to 8-year-olds. I don't know how that works. Pat?
So, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is that one of the big concerns is the difference in students' ages with these sort of actions, that the hugging of a 5-year-old would perhaps be more appropriate than one of a 16-year-old. So are we thinking that some kind of division by age with some of these might be appropriate? I don't know.
I mean, I think what I heard is that there is some legal concern about that, right? That creating specific differentiations between ages is probably problematic. Because how, as a teacher, you don't necessarily know the child's age either. And so you wouldn't want to have to, on the spot, think about, well, how old is this kid? And what does the policy say about this kid versus this kid? So I do understand having something that's universal and the importance of that. And I totally understand the legal ramifications of having something that's like incomplete. And so when I read this, I thought, okay, well, removing the hugging and allowing for someone to sit on a lap was sort of that compromise. So I do think that's in there. I don't know, maybe because the policy didn't have sort of that like bigger context, right? Like our job is to protect all students. Our job is to equally nurture students. Like maybe just some context language in that of like why we've created this policy and have it embedded in there might make me feel better about it. I mean, there is some, but right in the beginning, but maybe I just wasn't connecting with the way that it was written. And maybe I need to verbalize that and write it down and then come back and sort of present that, and that might be more helpful.
So, Mr. Shepherd, would it not be realistic to have, for example, elementary, oh my gosh, this is horrible, to have like elementary school would allow, as I'm saying it out loud, it doesn't sound right? Like to allow a student to sit on a teacher's lap. However, having volunteered in my daughter's, granted, 15 years ago when she was in kindergarten, and watching the interaction, it's just so pure and nurturing. And I know, I'm really struggling with this.
Well, I'm wondering.
Saying it out loud, it doesn't sound
right. So the California School Board Association's version, the whole purpose of the board policy, like we talked with AI, is the guardrails. And that one really explains kind of what we're trying to do a little bit more. The version from our insurance provider gets very specific of the different problems they have seen over the years. They've seen the unfortunate side of things, so they advise on that. So I wondered if maybe you liked the California School Board just because it was broader, it set the parameters and kind of the purpose behind it without getting so specific.
I thought it was better, for sure. Just maybe being optimistic and hoping that we don't need to get so legal. Yeah. So I think if the goal is to have something adopted sooner than later, I'd be more comfortable with that one.
Sam, I just wonder how the teachers union or teachers would feel about this discussion even. Yeah. Yes, for sure. I mean, it's broader, vague is kind of how I was feeling. The CSBA version, I didn't think of it as broad. I thought of it as vague, but.
And I guess I guess my thinking is that obviously the legal ones are the ones we have to look at some point, but then having the CSBA one where it's vague allows you to have some flexibility into it. But my gut feeling would be that CSBA has had legal references as well, and so that they would be able, they're putting out something for the masses, so that the generic and the vague, was that something that we would need to get the teachers to buy in on now? I think it's not necessarily, I don't think we'd go that far.
Well, I mean, our teachers union, they absolutely expect appropriate boundaries and relationships with the students, so they would support that 100%. I think what we heard in the public comment was the specificity in this and the worrying of losing that positive culture that they have at the school site. So with the CSBA, what I noticed is it really explains why those boundaries are in place and how it would harm students versus giving, so many specific examples. But it's really, up to you what kind of boundaries and expectations you would like to have as the board policy. So far, I've heard Danielle say it's better, not perfect. Chris is kind of not sure between either. So do you want us to bring both back so that Trustee LeVac and all of you we could bring it as an action item and you could discuss, and then if you're ready, take action at the next meeting on one of them, or you could redirect us at that time to bring back another version in July.
I think it's important I think it's important that Kirsten does get involved in this one as well, and I do appreciate the conversation, because it is one of those things where it could go either way. But if does that seem like an okay, bring back both, but then maybe we'll just give Kirsten LeVac an opportunity to review them and tell them that that's, weigh in, that was the word.
I guess I understand clearly, I understand the ramifications, and that things can happen. Obviously, as well as protecting students, I want to protect teachers. I don't want to put them in I don't want to have a policy that's so cut and dry that if a 5-year-old decides to hug on their teacher or wants to sit next to or on their lap, that teacher is fearful of job loss. Does that make sense? Kind of what my heart is? Like, I know this is really legal and policy, not really a heart issue, but I just want to make sure that, I know it's kind of a difficult goal, but my goal is that teachers are not afraid to show emotion to their student if they see the student needs it. Does that make sense? I'm looking at you because you're the preschool teacher. Like, you know what I mean, and us parents, we know. But yeah, it's a policy. We need to look at it through that filter. I just don't want anybody to be afraid to be encouraging and nurturing of a 5-year-old who they're in charge of for 7 hours.
And I think, Trustee
little.
Mooney could speak, each year at the beginning of the year, our teachers go through the online mandated training, reminding us about boundaries, reminding us about signs of students in distress and how to respond. And so we do help educate them and empower them so they feel like they can develop those caring relationships. And we certainly saw that in the data, that the students feel a strong sense of belonging. And then this is just putting in the guardrails of, what those appropriate boundaries are. And I'm hearing you don't want teachers to be fearful. And so you're looking for that right match of making sure people understand the importance of this, and then also not making people feel uncertain about how to interact with kids in an unnatural way.
I think based on this discussion, we seem to be leaning collectively more towards the CSBA one because it's less specific. So I think if that's the case, maybe we just consider it again, and that way we can all bring it back when Trustee LeVac is here, and kind of knowing that maybe that's where our lens is right now, and that might help us make that decision at the next meeting.
If I may interject, we are required to have a policy adopted prior to July 1, so that is a pressing matter. And I'll just remark that the CSBA version, I've thought about this immensely since our last meeting. The CSBA version would still allow guardrails for us because it talks about the first bullet, initiating inappropriate physical contact. So it doesn't say don't hug, it just says don't do anything inappropriate. And I think that would give administrators, teachers, it could be understood. This is a TK student. It's different than a 17-year-old. So.
That's why you read those things, Mike. It's good.
So we'll bring the CSBA version back for a second read and potential action at the next meeting.
It does sound like we need to take action at the next meeting, right? Because then that only gives you a week to meet the deadline. Is that correct?
That would be my advice, yes.
Okay.
I guess the question is, do we want them both presented, just so that Trustee Levac has the option, but because she wasn't part of this discussion? I mean, or do we just say?
Emailed again, I know we've received them.
Yeah.
Right, but perhaps if we could just get just those two documents with that's our homework.
And this is our plan, the plan
Fellow
would be to bring
trustees
one.
is come prepared to discuss the two, but mull them over.
I just think because she wasn't part of this discussion.
Yeah.
It still allows her the option to consider them both kind of side by side, which I think was helpful in our discussion.
And then you'll just move to take action on which one you guys decide is the discussion. Okay, we'll bring them both back. That's a great idea. Thank you.
With this being said, I totally think this is an awesome opportunity for all of us to do. I know it's stressful, but I think it's one of those things where we heard from one of our public teachers, and then we actually were able to discuss it. So I appreciate the input. Thank you very much. I'm going to move to 17.2. Superintendent Kramer.
Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you. This policy is an update for employee property reimbursement, and we're bringing this to you because our current policy, we've adopted both of these options that you see on here. The second option is stricken out because the language is at odds with each other, so we can't say we don't reimburse, which is our practice, and then also provide remedy for reimbursement. So for your consideration, and we'll bring this back, we're striking the second option to bring us in line with our current practice.
Thank you for that clarification. Any comments? Thank you. We're okay to bring that back for consent on the next meeting. And 17.3, Superintendent Kramer.
Mrs. Roderick.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, I'm presenting a first read of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District's updated board policy 6142.7, physical education and activity. The proposed revisions to this policy ensure we remain fully compliant with recent state and federal guidelines to guarantee an inclusive environment. The policy now includes a formal statement that ensures equal access to and opportunities for participation in physical education regardless of gender, gender expression, sexual orientation, mental disability, or physical disability. The policy outlines specific conditions under which the superintendent, chief learning officer, or designee may grant physical education exemptions with student consent. 2-year exemptions may be granted during 10th grade and 12th grade, provided the student has satisfactorily met at least 5 of the 6 fitness gram standards in grade 9. Permanent exemptions may be granted to students age 16 or older who have enrolled in 10th grade for at least 1 academic year. It is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees adopt the updated board policy 61427, physical education activity.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Roderick. Are there any comments from this item? Are we
No,
okay to-
other than I chuckled when I read it a little bit because I was thinking back to when we've had student participation, and they always say, I want more PE. So it made me laugh.
Okay, so we'll bring that back to consent on the next meeting. And 17.4, Superintendent Kramer.
Mrs. Roderick.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, I'm presenting a first read of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District's updated board policy 6143 regarding courses of study. The proposed updates to the TTUSD board policy 6143 regarding courses of study establish an aligned sequence of courses to support academic growth. The update ensures that courses articulate effectively across grade levels and with post-secondary institutions to which students may matriculate. These course sequences are designed to provide preparation, utilize prerequisites, and allow for progression in subject matter. A portion of the update expands the district's list of protected characteristics to closely align with current law. The district prohibits providing courses separately, requiring participation, or refusing participation based on a student's actual or perceived characteristics. The update policy adds protection for color, ethnic group, immigration status, age, genetic information, and conditions related to pregnancy, childbirth, and recovery. The update recognizes that elementary course of study must include all required instructional content to sufficiently prepare students for secondary education. For grades 7 through 12, courses must prepare qualified students for admission to California public colleges and universities for entry-level employment upon graduation. The policy outlines parental rights, requiring the district to notify parents and guardians when their student has the right to opt out of certain instruction. If an opt-out is approved, the student must be provided an alternative educational activity or similar educational value. Is staff recommendation the boards of trustees adopt the updated board policy 6143, courses of study.
Thank you, that was a lot. Any comments from the board? Nope. Thank you for continually updating and changing as they come. We'll bring that as well back to consent for our next meeting. And we have pulled 17.5, so that ends the first reads. Moving on to 18.0, board business. Ms. Hennessy, Clerk Hennessy, would you care to start us off with your activities?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that the early starts has popped up again. So I don't know what that means. I don't know the timing of those conversations. I know that they are coming.
Yep.
And I'm having flashbacks of last time, but I appreciated that we had comment from a teacher as well as student and family member or parent. So I think that's worth, obviously everything is worth listening to, but yeah. Congratulations to the classes of 2026. All three graduations were beautiful and fun and hecka windy, except for the indoor one. And then I also attended the awards night for North Tahoe High School, the North Tahoe School promotion yesterday, or North Tahoe Middle School yesterday, which was very sweet. And they look so young, and I love that Mrs. Mitchell welcomes them to high school. I think that's just very special. And I think the other item I did was attend the Sierra High book event. I know it has a formal name.
Books and Breakfast?
Books and Breakfast. Used to be Literacy Circle.
Oh, yeah.
And that's stuck in my head. And that was a great event as usual. And just, again, congratulations and to all the staff at the schools and the teachers. You're almost there. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
I also attended the Books and Breakfast, which was the first time I was able to sneak away from work and get to that. And I found it really fascinating talking to the students that many of them kind of went into the school year not wanting to read or enjoying reading. And when I'd ask them, do you consider yourself a reader? You enjoy reading? And almost all of them said yes. And I'd say, okay, well, what exactly do you like to read? Some were fiction, some were nonfiction. But the fact that they were just so immersed in these books and able to talk about them and kind of, pulling out, like, well, do you see any correlations with any of the other books that were presented, and getting them to really think, and they don't know me, right? They don't even know I'm a school board member probably, but we're willing to have those conversations, which I thought was great, and it just goes to show the confidence that they've gained by being there and engaged, and so I just found that very uplifting and encouraging, and that was fun. And then I also attended both the high school graduations, again, first time getting to both of them, so I feel like that was a huge win. There's so much going on at the end of the school year. I feel like we're all being pulled in a million different directions. I really wanted to go to the ACMS graduation, but I had a council meeting, so I sort of experienced it through my coworkers who had multiple kids who graduated, which is great, and I'm looking at all their pictures, so that was super fun. And then, yeah, to the public comment that we had tonight about start times, jazz band has always been in the morning, like, since I can remember, and I have friends who have kids in other school districts, and it's the same issue and I'm trying to wrap my head around why that is, because, we consider athletics sort of like a mental outlet for students, and, theater and all these other things, and music really is also that. And so, however we're able to have that conversation at some point in time about the why behind it, or like, why it can't change or whatever it is, I'd be curious, because I honestly don't know. And even myself being in band in high school, like, I didn't want to go to the morning ones, and I'm a morning person. So I do think that that's a deterrent for a lot of students in wanting to participate because it's just so early for them. Yeah, so however in the future we can do it, great. But beyond that, I think all the students have been having really fun end of school year and just a lot of joy in the community, which is awesome.
It is a busy time of year. I've been to a number of events the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I missed both the high school graduations. I had other events that I was obligated to go to. But I may be repeating myself, but the end of the year band concert at ACMS is always, it's always an emotional thing. Not for me, but for the students, especially the 8th graders, and for Ms. Tomasello. You hear you remember when the 6th graders in their first concert, they're playing Hot Cross Buns, and then, 3 years later, the 8th grade band is, playing these extraordinary pieces that sound, almost professional. And she does a great job. Ms. Tomasello does a great job bringing those kids all that way. And the kids themselves, they're the ones who are learning and improving and getting better at it and putting their hearts into it and doing the practice and everything. So they get a lot of credit for the growth and the improvement that they make. And at the end of the 8th graders play last, and at the end, of course, oh my gosh, poor Miss Tomasello, and they're all in tears and saying goodbye to each other. She's held those kids so close for 3 years, and now she's got to give them up to Mr. Steele, who, by the way, was there cherry picking. I saw him, but not really. He was there to enjoy the show, but it was a great show, great end of year event. Let's see, and I want to say the high school academic awards or scholarship? No, academic awards. It was not scholarship awards. Yeah, there were 2 different ones. The academic awards, a lot of smart kids that we are graduating from that school, and I know all 3 schools. But this was the only one that I observed, and the number of awards that were handed out and the things that the teachers had to say about those students these are really remarkable kids. And I applaud them for the hard work that they're doing and for the schools that they struggle to get into and the paths that they're taking after high school. It's really remarkable. The ACMS promotion, that was the first 8th grade promotion I've been to, I realized, in the years of on the board, well, I went to one years ago when I was at Sierra High, Sierra Middle School. That was a different event, and it was fun. There are so many people at these events, and I mean, standing room only, up on the railings, and so many kids that were promoted from 8th grade, and it's just the rest of them over on your side. I mean, there's so many kids. And some great speeches made by 8th graders, and the band played, and they conducted themselves very appropriately, let me say, for a group of 8th graders. They did it. They were nice. The graduation at Sierra High School was probably the most special of all those events. To know what so many of the students have gone through in their lives to get to that point, and how they fought so hard to get there, and the support that those teachers gave them along the way, and their parents and families, of course. The young man, I wish I could remember his name, that made the speech at the beginning. It was remarkable. That kid, he has a future in public speaking and working with the public. He was great. He spoke so well. And he had the recording. He mixed something in the middle. I mean, he was very entertaining and interesting and heartfelt. I really enjoyed it. So it's been a great end of the year. And as he said, there's half a day tomorrow. Fingers crossed that goes smoothly. And I did want to, as Danielle did, I want to chime in on this, on the early classes. When I was at the high school, I taught a 6:30 a.m. journalism class. And I saw the same symptoms that the young man described here, in regards to, they start off strong and then it starts to fade. And you start seeing, they're sleeping through classes and a number of other things. If I was a genius, I could tell you what the solution to that is. Move it to after school or non-set, whatever. But it's just, there's only so many hours in the day, and I think we're doing the best we can to make sure kids get to do all the things that they want to do and learn all the things that they want to do. And, I think it's worth, thinking about, discussing, other ways to approach this. But, as Danielle said, 6:30 jazz band has been around forever, and there's reasons that it's been like that. But it's not healthy for kids. 7:30 school starts is not. Oh, I won't go there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely, I will comment as well on that. That does seem hard. I did it with our kids too, but if that is something that we could definitely address. And that poor gentleman who did report out, I had told Jesse, please make sure I don't know how to get into the school in the back way at the Jazz. And then I didn't make it back from out of town, and I got there at like 9 in town. I was like, I missed it. So he did call me out, and I planned to be there, but I was out of town. Yeah, because I told Jesse, please let me in.
We could go next year.
I'll go next year.
I'll go next year.
Okay, I definitely will do it, my friend. I can't remember his name. One thing I did comment when, I think it was the coach that came up that said she was the coach and a musician person, it makes you not want to go to the place that you love, and that's a tough go. Because again, it's the same thing with everything, that if it's just...
It makes it a chore.
Yeah, and that's not right. But that's, okay, so that was that. Graduations were awesome. I went to all of them. We were talking about maybe getting a shield over the population on the stadium. A little hot over there. Yeah, sail. We want to sail. Just awesome kids. We do have so many crazy, great kids that are doing so many crazy, great things. I did like the fact that Mitchell spoke at the graduation. I want to give a shout out to Han Larson, who went to Truckee and took pictures of about 20 of her Alder Creek kids. And she whipped over to Sierra High and got one of her kids from there that she said someone had asked her to come. So the connections that our teachers make to get them to where they end up graduating, our graduation rate was huge, but I do think it's the step beyond. Everyone does go a little beyond, but I did want to give Hannah a shout out. And also, books for Miss Zapato that's just a great, great show. Thank you for bringing your husband. I didn't see him until afterwards. But the fact that these kids who hated to read, and then the coolest thing is, did you like the book? No, I hated it. But they had a great story. They could tell you about the story. So again, we're giving kids voices. We're giving them opportunities. And Pat, the Sierra High graduation, if you were to look, I think every kid struggles in so many ways. This is just a different struggle that we've actually been able to isolate in some ways. But the amount of energy that's put forth by our students to get to where they are is awesome. I want to say thank you to Miss Mitchell for giving us cans of water instead of plastic jars or plastic water at graduation. And thank you for attending SR. Sean Roderick is in major trouble because she had about 7 graduations off campus and on campus, and I told her she was not supposed to come back up, and she drove back up, back down, back up, back down. And then the only other thing that I'm going to do is shout out, because I have a new T-shirt behind me, is that the experience at Ride Out, I know that we are just getting the emails back in terms of responses, was phenomenal. Swept did a fantastic job, and I think Ms. Roderick indicated that having somebody in charge of it that was running the program from start to finish. And Ed, you did phenomenally. Do not look at me like you didn't do everything, but you did phenomenally to get us to where we were. We went to the next step. And if we didn't have you starting us off, Outdoor Ed, we wouldn't have had that. So first of all, thank you for doing that. But then having Missy coordinate with those guys that they all know what they're doing was phenomenal. And one of the comments, and Ed, you'll laugh, one of the comments was, the beds are hard. I'm like, dude, we're camping. Like, really? So I'm like, I'm going to just take those comments right out. But also, huge thanks to everybody that got it together. I know the maintenance crew did a bunch, and then the food people, the food team. Just, when you move off campus, it's not as easy. It seemed like we talked about having board meetings in the lake, and we would love to have more of those. It is a thrash. Like, you got to make a big suitcase. And I did dishes for a little bit, but that crew deserves a big handshake. And it may be that we work the kids into doing dishes next time or something, but no, really, really fun event. I think the teachers had a really good time. I want to say that we did have 4 overnighters, Kirsten Kramer and Ed Hilton and you, and there was one more.
Julia.
Oh, yeah. But unbelievable. Thank you. Oh, my shirt. Here is my shirt. Totally flipping psyched. That is a rad Bad Betty shirt. Okay, we are adjourned. I think I said everything I wanted to say.